Halloween Horror Nights 2022. Let's talk about it.
Let's do this. We went to Halloween Horror Nights in Universal Orlando Resort, and we're going to tell you about it a little bit.
We're going to go through an overall experience. We're going to talk about the haunted houses, the scare zones, the food. We've got to talk about the food.
I mean, how can you do a podcast and not talk about food?
And our thoughts on whether or not we think it's worth the wait.
That's right. So here's how it works. You go to Halloween Horror Nights. It's a separated, ticketed event, just like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or the Christmas event. You get to enter the park at 6:30 with your ticket. Now, we were annual pass holders, or are annual pass holders, so we got to kind of go in a little bit before those, which is it's kind of a trick. You get an extra hour and a half in the park before they open it up to everybody, which was a little helpful because we needed about 30 minutes to kind of figure out what the heck we were doing.
Well, it was our first time, so we definitely had a lot of questions that were left somewhat unanswered for quite a bit. It was like we were going to different cast member or team members, they're called at Universal. They all were great, by the way. All the team members this trip, 10/10, they were all so helpful. Again, we had a bazillion questions, and they loved to help us and answer them. But I feel like everyone had their own opinion of how to navigate the night.
Exactly. I think there's two different areas other than food that Halloween Horror Nights has to offer. It's the haunted houses themselves, which are these walk-through houses that are extra, and then scare zones, which are parts of the park that are simulated areas, but you don't need to get in line for those.
Yeah, it's kind of like a walk-through experience where you can partake in as much as you want.
You partake in it whether you want to or not.
I mean, you can avoid some of the
There was at least 17 times where I was walking down the scare zone. I didn't know I was in the scare zone. Walking down, and someone with a chainsaw or a fake chainsaw comes up and revs it up right behind me.
That's the best part.
I mean, it's the best part when it does it to somebody else, not to me.
That's true. All right, so getting there initially, I would say I loved the energy of the people that we were with around us. I felt like everyone had just such a fun attitude about being there, and it was really cool. It's almost like being at a party with all your friends, right? And they were all dressed really fun, Halloween stuff. Like, nobody had costumes, but it was just a really neat experience just to be like in that Halloween theme.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it felt like they've all been there before except for us.
Yeah, why did it seem like that?
I don't know, but it starts at 6:30 and it goes till 2 a.m. And we were there at 5 o'clock. They lock the door, right? So to speak. And you can't go in. Nobody can go in. So before 5 o'clock, if you have an annual pass, you get to go in. It was 4:58, and we didn't know that. We just kind of ran in. So from 4 to 6:30, before the real event starts, we were trying to figure out what exactly we're going to do. And there's these haunted houses you have to get in line for in order to be able to go through the haunted house. So we were asking cast members, like, what's the process? What do we do exactly when we are in line? Or there's different areas, and you need to figure out which haunted house you want to go to. It's a little confusing.
Yeah, and we got the suggestion of starting in the back of the park and sort of working your way up front. And being an annual pass holder, you can essentially see a lot more of the haunted houses by doing so.
Yeah, and they tend to get a lot more crowded, and the wait times tend to increase dramatically towards the end of the night.
Dramatically is an understatement.
Also, the genre of people seemed to change around 10, 11 o'clock.
Definitely.
You know, it was like after 10 o'clock, you didn't see any kids.
Yeah.
And it was more adults, maybe teenagers or young adults. No kids, no families.
So that is something that's interesting, because if I was not an annual pass holder to get in at 5, I think I would rather have gone a little bit later in the evening. No offense to the kids or anything, but I think it would have been better off kind of relaxing, sleeping in, and seeing that kind of shift and change come 10, 11 p.m. Because as you get closer to that 2 a.m. end time, overall, all the wait times slow down. I mean, you've got to have the energy to do that, but I think we're better than in Universal.
Yeah, and we didn't know what to expect either. It was our first visit, and it's hard to figure out what you want to do until you actually get to do it one time, and then you can be like, all right, now I've experienced it. Next time I go back, this is what I'm going to do a little bit differently.
So what we should do is we should just stop this video right now and redo another one that says mistakes to avoid when visiting.
That'll be the next video. That'll be next year's. Here's the mistakes you should avoid when visiting Halloween Horror Nights at Universal.
So let's talk about the scare zone. Again, my favorite part of the night, I think, was the scare zone, because I think that the people there, the team members, the actors, they were on point. Some of it was so spooky, and I really loved that. My favorite happened to be the streets of Hollywood.
Yeah, once it gets dark, too, it's hard to determine who's part of the show and who's watching the show.
Yeah.
It was hard for me. You are walking in these alleyways or streets, and you don't know who's part of the show because you can't really dress up, but people were in costume, meaning, you see Stranger Things shirts, or they're wearing black, or they're wearing like something that they would wear out to a Halloween party. Not a costume, but like an event. And it's hard to determine who's part of the event and who's watching, and all of a sudden someone just comes up behind you and scares the crap out of you.
Well, I think it was too, like having the fog and the smoke all around you. You kind of disorient you. Being dark at night, of course. I think that element of it makes it a little more challenging to know where your bearings are. But all in all, a good time, I think, once the sun went down.
Definitely, yeah. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, too, but between the music playing, the smoke, and it being dark, I didn't know what was going on at any point.
It was like sensory overload.
I think they do that on purpose so they can scare you more.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Did you have a favorite scare zone?
The one near the mummy.
Which one was that? Was that the one with the candy kids? The kids that were...
All I know is we have a video, and I'll probably play it over this, where we have a video where there's a clown with a big giant clown head, comes up right up to you, and it's like...
stabbing you.
Yeah, coming right up to you, and it's pretty frightening. If you're afraid of clowns or...
It's like I forget the name of it, and there was like kids on bikes.
Yes, they were on like tricycles.
Yeah, that was really fun. All right, what about food?
I love trying new things, and I don't mind paying extra for something that you don't normally. The couple of negative things for me was the lines were really long to get into some of these things. Portions were kind of small, and it's not the cheapest food in the world. Like, it's a little bit expensive for what you get.
Okay, so I did it like this. Theme for food, 10-10.
Definitely. They did a great job of making it seem like it was like brains or, like
they had the skull with, it was
pepperoni pizza skull.
Yeah, that was really fun.
That was great. Yeah. I thought it's very, listen, you're at a Halloween party. You got to have some themed food like that.
So theme on the food was amazing. I think flavor was also a 10-10. I think the things that we got, I was really satisfied with. Actually, I remember a couple times biting into, I had a skewer and my eyes kind of widened when I ate it because I was not expecting it to be so good. I mean, it's a theme park, right? So you kind of think, all right, well, this might be probably mediocre. They're going more for the theme on it, but it was actually really, really tasty. Portions and value, I would say like $4.10. Because it's some of the stuff was like almost $9, and it was like 2 bites.
You know what a great thing to do is? It's you go to the menu board and you see an item that you'd maybe think you'd want to try.
Sure.
Then you wait to where people pick it up. And you just watch somebody who just paid for it and picked it up and see if it's worth your time and money.
Hot take.
Yeah, because you can look at it, right?
Yeah.
And if it's like really a small portion or it doesn't look great, you're like, you know what? I'm not going to spend $10 on that small portion.
I think that is
versus
a smart strategy.
Because the menu board makes it look great.
Yeah, I agree.
And sometimes it's like those commercials on TV with food. Sometimes your food you get in real life doesn't always match what it looks like in the picture or in the video.
All right, now this doesn't necessarily have to do with the horror night itself, but this was probably one of my favorite parts of the night was getting to see an empty Diagon Alley.
Not only getting to see an empty Diagon Alley, but an empty Men in Black.
Yeah.
An empty ice cream shop in Diagon Alley.
Yeah.
A very low wait time for Mummy.
Or Gringotts.
Gringotts. That's
cool.
A huge bonus right there.
Yeah. Being able to literally spin around and dance while in Diagon Alley was out of this world. Happened to be the moon was setting just right above it. And it was just a really incredible experience that I don't think I'll ever forget.
You walked into Diagon Alley and it was we've been dozens of times to Diagon Alley and it's always been wall-to-wall people.
Shoulder to shoulder for sure. Yeah.
Just like the streets in London.
Yeah.
Or you think they would be.
Right.
Never been to London, but I'm assuming they're like that back in the day.
You can see the detail, but you really can't. I don't know. It's tough because you're hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we go through the tunnel to get to Diagon Alley, and you walk in, and it's so not busy. You almost think to yourself, am I supposed to be here?
Seriously.
Like, you look around, and you're like, hold on a second. Is this open? Like, are we supposed to be in here? So that was fantastic. Being able to take video and photos and kind of walk around and really get to see the details of Diagon Alley without a tremendous amount of people in there.
Yeah, I think that was something that I'll never forget, and being able to actually go through it and really take in all the details that I guess might go missed when there's so many people. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's an incredible land and place to visit no matter what. But
no, I would pay the ticket for Halloween Horror Nights just to go there and hang out with no people.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it was that good. It was definitely something that, again, I don't think I'll ever forget.
What about the ice cream shop? Generally, when you go to that ice cream shop in Diagon Alley, you have to wait outside for a long time. It's almost like a line to get into an attraction.
It's pretty long.
We got right in. I think we were the second person in line. We got our ice cream. We probably did all the wrong things you want to do at Halloween Horror Nights, but we did all the things that you never get to do at a regular park day.
Now you just remind me of the chocolate chili ice cream I had. It's so good.
Yeah, the one I had too, and the waffle cone was great as well.
So delicious. Okay, so I think that is something that is kind of not talked about as frequently as I thought. I actually, for a split second before we went in to Halloween Horror Nights, I actually thought that Diagon Alley and that whole Wizarding World would be closed. Like, I didn't even look at what available rides would be, and I just kind of dismissed it because I thought there's no way that they would keep it open because there's obviously a limited amount of tickets that are going to be sold.
Right.
So could they even staff that area? And I was shocked.
And we had what seemed to be a busy Halloween Horror Night.
So I think that's the thing, the main takeaway for our first experience might have not have been the best experience due to the fact that, unfortunately, there was a hurricane just a week before, so they had to close this special event. They had to close the parks in general. And so I think a lot of the people that had scheduled to go week prior went the night that we were there, and it definitely seemed super busy. It was actually, I remember at one point we looked at each other and said, it felt busier than it did all week at the park.
Yeah, we were there the day before for a regular park day, and it didn't seem as busy then as it did on Halloween Horror Night. The one thing I did think is I thought there would be more rides and attractions open. I was a little disappointed with the lack of attractions that were open. Like, I know you go there for the haunted houses, but some of those wait times were 100, 110 minutes, and I ain't waiting that long.
I think like I said, I think that the best thing would be to determine if you're a pass holder whether you want to go on a ride like that with no line and see an empty queue. Like, seeing it was literally just you and I.
We were the only people in there.
In Men in Black. Like, I've never seen anything like it. I'm never going to forget it. It was like our own private.
Well, there was one other guy in there with us.
There was?
A funny story. There's one other guy with us on the attraction. He came in after, right?
Oh, he came in after the queue.
There was 3 people in line. You, me, and that gentleman.
Yeah, where'd he come from?
I don't know. But the cast member...
We were loading the vehicle.
And there's 4 vehicles. There's 2 on each side. There's 3 people in line. They wanted us to go in the same row.
Yeah, that was
I was thinking to myself, why? Why are you putting us in the same row? There's nobody even coming.
I know why. He wanted to laugh. Like, he wanted to be like...
Definitely wanted to chuckle at us.
Yeah, he wanted to say, well, you're friends now. I thought that was funny. But like I said, seeing an empty queue and seeing Men in Black, being able to walk in slowly and take my time, it was like VIP 100 times.
All right, so let's go through as we wrap up this kind of review. Pros and cons.
Okay.
Pros.
Awesome energy. I think the people there were really fun. I loved people watching, to be honest. Again, the energy. I loved some of the haunted houses were amazing. Ironically, one of my favorite ones, because ironic being the fact that I really hate bugs eaten alive in that 1950s Home of the Future was one of my favorites. Like, just being able to go through that, it was gross and eerie, but I got out of there laughing, and I thought it was really fun.
All right. Another pro for me was, like we just mentioned, being able to go on Men in Black and Gringotts and walk around Diagon Alley with very few people. That's a dream of mine.
Yeah.
And that's something that, unless you go to an event like this, you probably won't get to experience there.
Right.
And another pro?
What's another pro?
I thought the food that we got, like I said, if you use my strategy of watching the exit line and seeing what people get.
Or their reaction while eating.
Yeah. Or ask them, hey, how was that?
Yeah.
You could even ask them. If you do that strategy and then you get a couple things, I thought it's definitely a unique experience for food.
Yeah. I think I agree with that.
All right, let's go to a couple cons because there are always a couple cons.
Okay, cons, I would say right off the bat, I felt a little rushed through some of the haunted houses. Like, I felt that I wasn't given the opportunity to be scared because there were people kind of behind me, not pushing, but like urging me to go.
Well, they always want you to move and fill all the available space. Even when there's not, the purpose is to not fill all the available space because you want to enjoy and absorb what you're seeing.
I definitely didn't get to do that in a lot of the I'm going to say open houses, in a lot of the haunted houses because of that feeling. And it was more about not so much caring about who's behind me, but I was so close to the person in front of me as well that I would see them get scared, so I knew it was coming.
Well, so how the lines work is it's just basically a big maze, right? And it's just a maze through a warehouse that's got these twists and turns, and you just kind of follow the leader.
Yeah.
And the leaders are always right in front of you, and there's always somebody right behind you.
Definitely, I think I understand. And maybe, again, it's an unfair kind of review on that take, just because I, again, think that it happened to be super crowded the night we were there. And I feel like they had to kind of push people along.
Well, otherwise, the line would have been 200 minutes instead of 100 minutes.
Yeah, but you definitely don't get that same scare factor when you know what's coming around the corner.
There was not one point where I was walking through any open house where I didn't know what was coming because I saw it 2 people ahead of me.
And it was an open haunted house.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
I kept saying open house myself.
We're going to say that.
Well, I was watching Stranger Things because we love Stranger Things. And a couple of years ago, there was Stranger Things themed haunted house.
Yeah.
And I was watching the promo video for that. Very false advertising. It was 2 people walking through and they got scared everywhere because it was 2 people. That is not what it was like.
Yeah. I mean, look, I get it. And they have to move it along. And I understand why, you're not allowed to record or take pictures because they don't want you stopping. I think things can definitely go wrong if you had a phone in your hand or if people are just really just stopping in the middle of a haunted house. But that being said, I think that is the biggest con. If I had to just say, all right, what was the one thing you wish could change on an evening? That would have been it.
One con for me, too, is it's not very well self-explained what to do. Like when you go to Mickey's Not So Very Scary Party, you get in a separate entrance and they kind of flow you through the area, right? And you get to just kind of see and do what you want. There's a specific way you need to start Halloween Horror Nights, and they don't tell you that.
There's like a strategy.
There's definitely a strategy. Otherwise, you're going to get sucked into that 100-minute line, and you're not going to be able to see what you want to see.
Yeah.
So you have to go into a line first and really strategize about what line you want to be in so that way you can maximize your time because it's not a whole lot of time in your night.
Agreed.
And they don't tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no information out there that tells you this is what you need to do. But the cast members were really nice about kind of explaining it to us. But they all had their own ideas, too, of what they wanted to do.
Oh, they for sure had their own opinion. And I think what we ended up doing was just kind of listening to all of them and kind of forming our own based on the fact that we were new and we wanted to kind of go through them with the best experience possible. But at the same time, we also didn't want to wait in tremendously long lines. You hate waiting for things.
It's not even that I hate waiting. The lines, the way they have them set up, are not like the queues for the attractions.
Would you have gone next time and pre-purchased, because the closer to the date you go, the more expensive it gets.
Yeah.
And I think unattainable. Would you have gotten the express pass?
Well, we looked into that the day we were there, and it was $212 per person. And he looked at me with a straight face and said that.
Yeah, totally straight face.
Like expecting me to whip out my wallet and just give him my credit card. And I was not about to do that. I would probably suggest here's what I would do next time. I would either do the express pass, or if it's just you and I, they have this VIP tour where it's not just you, but you're with 10 people. I may do that.
Yeah.
And they have a guide that can kind of explain the situation to you, especially if you're going for a first time. It's maybe just you and your wife.
I think what we did
or
wrong.
Your significant other. I may have had that guide. Maybe, you're with a group of 10 people that you don't know, but the guide will guide you along and kind of give you the inside information as to what you want to do. And you can say to him, this is what we want to experience here.
Help us out.
Help us maximize our time.
I think for sure, if it's your first time, I think that is something that I would have preferred to do. I think it's worth noting.
Or you can just follow closely behind him like we did by accident.
Whoops. How did we get here? I agree. I think all in all, the shows, a lot of people have had really raving reviews about the shows. I thought shows were really great. Dining, again, really good. I thought the scare zones were fun to walk through. It's funny, at the beginning, one of the cast members, he was describing the overall night, and he was describing some of the scare zones, and I had to show him. He gave me chills on my arms.
Why?
He was just describing some of it, and I was thinking I'm very visual, so when someone describes it, I instantly think about it and play the movie in my head, and it was just, and he was so proud of himself. because he was so excited. I guess that's the other part I loved was the energy of the team members.
Yeah, I think too the haunted houses themselves. If you are going to go to Halloween Horror Nights, you should see what haunted houses there are.
Yeah.
And see if you like the theming of those houses. Because the more you like the theming of the houses, I think the more you'll enjoy your night. Like I was looking back at previously themed houses for Halloween Horror Nights, and there was a Stranger Things house. There was one that had a Beetlejuice house. There was a couple that I really liked and I was really interested in. This year, none of them really stuck out to me.
The Bugs one didn't?
The Bugs one, listen, they were good,
Yeah.
but none of them stuck out that I was like, oh, I have to go on. Like, I don't care about the weekend.
Right.
Like, I don't need to go on that one. And there was a lot like that. But I went on them and I had a good time, but it was none like the Stranger Things house I would have loved to go on. The Beetlejuice house I would have loved to go on. Things like that.
Gotcha. Legends of we saw the Legends one. What that was, I forget which one that was called, but I thought that was cool. I liked seeing the old school
Universal Monsters Legends Collide.
Yeah, I like seeing the old school type of monsters. I know they're introducing that or bringing that to the newer park that's about to open. Well,
Epic Universe?
Yeah, going to open. I almost said about to open, like it's tomorrow. But I think that's cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people said, well, how will the young generation know about those characters? And it's a good time to introduce them.
For sure.
So I think it's just an excuse for you to do that.
All right, overall, out of a 10, what would you give Halloween Horror Nights? You can't give it a 7.
That's out of the question.
7 is cheating. You can't do it.
So I feel bad because I think it would have been better if it wasn't as busy. I think it would have been better if you did what they said, bring a Scream Squad.
True.
I think the more friends you can conjure up and bring with you, the better, because it's super fun to be scared, but it's way more fun to see someone else get scared.
Yeah. So what are you going to get it?
I think I'm going to say 610 for this experience in particular, only because I think it was a really, really busy night. And the one thing I was really looking forward to was the haunted houses. I didn't necessarily get the full experience I believe that I thought was possible.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. 6 out of 10. This is the one time where I'm going to say, bring a group of friends with you.
Yeah.
You'll never hear me say that on anything.
Never.
Except for this, because it gives you a couple different things. It gives you buffers in the haunted houses, right?
Yeah.
Where you can have your friends in front and behind you.
People you know.
Yeah, people you know
Yeah.
and are comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing like seeing people you know get scared.
Yeah.
And if it's just you and I, how much can I watch you get scared?
And at the end of the night, it gets a little falls flat.
Right.
And we also don't necessarily drink, so there was really a lot less energy come 10:30, 11. We found ourselves getting tired.
Exactly. So if I could say, give you a suggestion, obviously research the haunted houses. Make sure you go to an event of the haunted house you want to see. Maximize your time and bring your scare squad with you. I can't believe I just said that out loud.
We should stop now.
Yeah, well, it's over.
All right, everybody.
Hit that
thanks.
subscribe button. Let us know if you've ever been to Halloween Horror Nights, what you rate it, what your favorite haunted house was in the comments below this video. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.